Hello, my name is Elite and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to teach you simple IELTS writing, reading and listening tips that can help you to get 9 bands. These techniques have worked for many of my students, and if you do what I tell you in this video, I guarantee that you will become to get a very good band in IELTS. Please watch this video till the end. So, if you're ready, let's begin. We will start from Top IELTS Writing Tips to Ace IELTS Writing. The first tip for IELTS writing is get familiar with the essay writing structure. This is one of the main IELTS writing skills. You have a solid understanding of the structure of a typical essay. Composition is a key component of IELTS writing success because writing is not just an obstacle for students to jump over. Organize your essay clearly and don't try to wall for the examiner. Be sure to use paragraphs to break down the different topics you're discussing. The next tip for IELTS writing is understand the question before attempting. A clear understanding of the type of problem can help you identify the problem easily. It is clear, unless you understand the essence of the question, you cannot answer it in the way required to achieve the intended result. Doing this can help you get an idea of the structure of your answer from the question. The next tip for IELTS writing is construct grammatically correct sentences. Creating grammatically correct sentences is critical in IELTS writing because it makes a huge difference to writing and speaking. They will also help you construct sentences correctly, allowing the examiner to tell you that you are more educated. The next tip for IELTS writing is use a proper vocabulary. Correct vocabulary can help you gain the impression of the examinee and avoid redundant words. Don't use the same word multiple times in a paragraph, or else it will make the evaluator disinterested. The next tip for IELTS writing is keep it formal. Make sure your writing style is formal and free of any slang words. Try to be as formal as possible instead of writing an informal essay. To be formal is to take it seriously. The next tip for IELTS writing is keep an eye on the time. Time management is one of the important things to consider in the IELTS writing test. Paying close attention to time is essential in writing exams. Don't spend too much time answering any question, even if you don't know the answer. Leave that alone and move on. Finally, when you check your answers, try to answer the questions you left. The next tip for IELTS writing is ensure that your writings are readable. Always remember that your answers are readable and attractive to evaluators. Because if a paragraph is found to be crowded, the evaluator may be confused and uninterested. Text comprehension is based on simple and clear writing. Unclear text is an obstacle to readers' access. The next tip for IELTS writing is check answers and ensure that no questions were left. Answer all questions on time. After completing the writing section, check to see if you left any questions. Make sure you answer all the questions on time so you can avoid the chance of losing your test score. Now I will explain the top IELTS reading tips to Ace IELTS reading. The IELTS academic reading test is a headache for many candidates. You need to answer 40 questions about 3 articles, each of which may exceed 1,000 words. This is a huge amount and can be processed in just an hour. However, getting a high score is not impossible, and many people can only get an 8 or 9 by having a good way to approach the exam. I will explain some simple tips and tricks to help you master the reading test and improve your IELTS score. The first tip for IELTS reading is Develop skills for all types of questions in reading. You will face 14 different types of questions. Therefore, you must find a way to answer every question. Some types of questions come with answers, while others don't. It will help you save time and find the right answer. The next tip for IELTS reading is developing speed reading skills. The IELTS test has a strict time limit, which challenges the test taker's ability to complete questions on time. Therefore, developing speed reading skills will help you find answers quickly. The next tip for IELTS reading is understanding the full passage is not important. You definitely don't have to understand the entire paragraph. You just have to find the answer. Most questions test your ability to find specific information given to you and then understand sentences containing the specific information. The next tip for IELTS reading is enhance grammar skills. Learning grammar is one of the most important parts of learning any language, as well as English. When taking the IELTS test, you must ensure that you have a good understanding of English grammar so that you can determine the correct use of grammar quickly and efficiently. The next tip for IELTS reading is scanning and skimming. One effective technique that students can use when dealing with essay-like problems is to scan the essay to get a quick overview of the essay. To this end, students are advised to scan the article and not spend a lot of time reading each word in a particular sentence. Skimming helps students develop a fair idea about the text. The next tip for IELTS reading is tackling tricky and complex passages. To meet this challenge, students should prepare by regularly reading the scientific literature and research papers. Regular reading not only helps students become familiar with the vocabulary used in the scientific community, but also trains them to quickly analyze the information in the text and simplify its use. The next tip for IELTS reading is practice as much as you can. One of the best ways to make sure you do well in IELTS is to take practice tests and practice whenever possible. This can also help you improve your timing and reactions so that you have a good idea of how to adjust yourself when trying the IELTS test. Now I will explain the top IELTS listening tips to ace IELTS listening. The first tip for IELTS listening is use a minute to look through each section. At the end of each section, you have 30 seconds to review your answers. Then you are asked to roll over and watch the next section for 30 seconds. While some IELTS listening skills will tell you to check what you wrote, you can't check the previous part because you can no longer hear the listening. So, go straight to the next section. Then you will have 1 minute to go through the next section. This is the best time. The next tip for IELTS listening is look at 2 questions at once. This is done for 2 reasons. First, the answers to some questions may be close to each other in a sentence, so if you only look at one question at a time, you might miss a question. Also, you might miss an answer. The next tip for IELTS listening is move on if you miss an answer. If you realize you missed an answer, quickly forget about it and focus on the next answer. There is nothing you can do, and you can also guess when your answers will be transferred to the final answer sheet. The same is true if you realize you've missed 2 or 3 answers. Don't panic and move on because there's nothing you can do about it. Missing some questions won't necessarily affect your band score. The next tip for IELTS listening is underline keywords. When you first browse through questions, especially in harder parts, Please underline keywords in the question stem to help you hear the answer. The next tip for IELTS listening is: take care with spelling and grammar. Your answer will be flagged as wrong if it is misspelled or grammatically inappropriate. So, when you finally pass on your answer, please recheck it. The next tip for IELTS listening is: don't worry about what you write on the exam sheet. During practice exams, it's common to see students rubbing or scribbling something on the test paper. Remember, no one will see or refer to what you write here. Don't waste time getting the correct spelling or anything. If you do, you will get lost. You need to listen. So just write down what you hear and move on. When you transfer your final answers to the answer sheet, you can be sure that the spelling is correct. The next tip for IELTS listening is: read the instructions. IELTS listening skills are important skills for any part of the test. Always read the instructions carefully. They will tell you how many words to use. If you don't ask for more than 2 words and use 3, then it's wrong. You must enter only the required words. The next tip for IELTS listening is: use upper or lowercase letters. A frequent question is whether you can use uppercase. This is what the official British Council website says. You can write your answer in lowercase or uppercase. So, you can type all of your answers in capital letters if you like. The next tip for IELTS listening is: transfer your answers to the answer sheet carefully. It would be wrong to put the correct answer in the wrong place on the answer sheet, so be sure to put your answer in the correct place. The next tip for IELTS listening is: learn to listen and write together. It is important to practice listening skills, but remember that you must write and listen for the test. So, you should practice this as well. One way is to pass practice exams, but you can also try to listen to the audio and take notes at the same time. This will improve your ability to complete both skills at the same time. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up by hitting the like button. If you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to get my latest lessons right here on YouTube. Happy learning, and I will see you in another lesson soon.